Hey everyone, welcome back to another podcast of KISS.
Keep it simple, sister. Hi, Samantha.
Hi Diana, how are you doing?
I'm fabulous. And you?
Wonderful as always. Is there any other
Okay.
response?
Huh?
Is there any other response? Like, oh,
No. And I don't know if I explained this before, but I always answer with fabulous.
mhm.
And it always shocks people. And they look like, well, why are you fabulous?
You don't look
And
fat.
I think to myself, and then I say to them, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But if you say it, then it makes it more likely to come true.
Yeah, yeah,
And
no.
then they laugh and I laugh and we all laugh. And then I say, you probably ought to try it sometime because it really is a fun kind of little thing to do.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
going to spend this week focusing on saying fabulous every time that something.
Okay. Well, it's good you could say wonderful. You could pick a word,
Uh-huh.
whatever word works for you, but fabulous has always been my word. And so it just comes naturally to me now. Like I never say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm whatever. It's always fabulous.
Yeah.
Always.
When you say it in such a fabulous kind of way.
Well,
Fabulous.
and
Duh.
fabulous. You have to say it like that, don't you? Isn't that the pronunciation of it?
Okay, okay. So
Okay.
let's jump into the
So,
flip side or
yes. So we decided that we're gonna not do a flip side today because really our subject matter is all about how to flip it. And our flip side normally is where we give an example of something that had some contrast and we looked for the good in it and we found how it was benefiting us.
yes.
So let's just jump right into the positive path and let's just jump right
Fabulous.
into the positive. I'm sorry,
No,
Ben.
but huh?
Okay, let's just jump in.
We're gonna just jump in. So just to let people know, like this is home recording. So like we have the craziest stuff happen where all of a sudden people are knocking on doors and things are going off and whatever happens and we just roll with it.
Yes, let's go with it.
Okay.
So my daughter is at my house, which in a flip side could be challenging, but I'm looking at the good of it all. She's very helpful, but her dog has a lot of energy, and he just bashed something into my office door. So that's what that was. He didn't actually come in; he just bashed something into the door.
Oh my gosh. And you have to act
Yeah,
like,
I'm
no,
gonna
this
have to
isn't
relegate
happening.
him somewhere when we record. He's gonna have to go to daycare or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doggy daycare.
Yeah. Cause everything's supposed to be perfect in a perfect world when you're podcasting.
Not ours.
No, no, definitely not. Okay. So positive path. It's all about the concept of neutral and how everything is always benefiting us.
Which we know that my motto is everything's always working out for me. And that helps me whenever I'm in a situation where I'm like, oh, this might not be so great. I have to remind myself of that. But we're going to talk about the process and how that works, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. There's
Okay.
a lot to dig in here because and the thing is it's all going to sound somewhat familiar. A lot of the stuff that I like to study comes from channeled information from an entity known as Bashar. And we'll put a couple of his videos in the blog that goes along with this podcast. So we'll put those
Yes.
in the blog. But but it's still like it's still harkens to Abraham Hicks and and like it all comes around to there's other spiritual teachers out there and channelers and
Well,
so
and if people, like I was, are not used to the spiritual world, and all, we're throwing these names out like people know what in the world we're talking about.
Mhm.
Um, I started with Abraham Hicks, and then I started bringing some more things in. But Abraham Hicks is also a channeled entity group of
Being
of
collective being.
beings
Yeah.
that are trying to give us the message of what all of this is all about,
Mhm.
um, and in different ways, from coming from different directions. So it's really interesting. And I've been watching, is it Super Soul podcasts? something soul podcast.
Next Level Soul podcast.
Next Level Soul podcast. What got me into it was near death experience. He interviewed people that had near death experiences, but now he's interviewing all kinds of people, different channels, and so he brings in a lot of these channeled entities, and they're all saying the same thing. They're all giving the same message in a slightly different way that's accessible by people, like something may speak to me that doesn't speak to you, that doesn't speak to some, or whatever. But what I'm finding is,
yeah,
exactly. But what I'm finding is the science person in me, this is evidentiary, this is evidence, this is fact, this is real, because it's coming from all over the place. It's not just one source. I can fact check this, and now I believe.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. I know you're way farther into this than I was, but for our audience members that are just kind of dipping their toe in or putting their foot in, now they're up to their ankles or their knees. Bashar is cool. I love it.
Yeah, he's also he can be very stern, but it's really his sense of humor.
And I love a snarky somebody, and I love a sense of humor. So that speaks to me. Some people might, that might insult them a little bit, but I love it.
Well, and so when, Diana was saying how it's evidentiary and stuff, for me, the way that I have formed my understanding, my perception of reality is the fact that I've looked at things. I've channeled my own information. I've offered, I've connected to the other side. I've done things like that. But then I've listened to other, like these other channels speak. And then when the information, like from two totally different sides or three different sides, whatever, when it's coming from different places and it crosses over, and makes sense, then there's an element of truth and trust in that. It's
Right.
just like you can't make that stuff up when it keeps all coming back to the same kind of one truth kind of thing.
Big idea. Yeah.
Yeah, big idea. I like that better than truth, because everybody's truth is their truth.
Right.
It's their perception of reality, so it's their truth. So I like it. I like that big
Well,
idea.
an interpretation of a big idea is different for everybody too. So yeah, I like the big idea too.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So getting into everything benefiting you and seeking neutrality. So the concept behind it, all right, I'm going to explain a couple of basic things first so that people can understand even what that means to be neutral. Like we know we can be really hyper and excitable in one moment, and then we can be really depressed in another. And then we know we can be in this kind of satisfied state, which is still a little bit positive, or you can just be in a contemplative state, which, can still be on the positive side. But you're getting towards neutral there. Okay.
Yes.
So all of this is our vibrational state of being. So David Hawkins did the scales of consciousness, and he was able to, through muscle testing, which is, I don't know if anyone's been to a chiropractor. It's when they hold the arm out and they put, their hand here, and they'll see if there's a weakness or whatever. Or we've shown it on one of our podcasts where, you could stand up and see, what was true and what
I
wasn't.
think it was the true or false one, right?
Yeah, true or false.
Yeah, episode 6, true or false, if you'd like to go back and take a look at it.
Geez,
I have a list, but it stopped at episode 9, and I think we're way past.
Yeah, we're way past that. We're like 15. Anyway, so going back to the muscle testing. So David Hawkins figured out this scale of consciousness that we're all kind of now commonly working with, which talks about, certain emotions being at certain levels, vibrating at certain levels of beingness. And so the idea is that if you are falling into like a negative state of being, you're vibrating at a very low vibration, and you're kind of looking at everything in a state of victimhood. Whereas if you're vibrating at a higher state of being, above 200, that you're more in a positive state of mind of seeing how you're creating, how you're manifesting. And I'm kind of extrapolating from his work in trying to explain this to bridge it
Yeah.
over to what Bashar talks about.
What we need to know for today.
Yeah, what we need to know. All right. So when we talk about bringing ourselves into a state of neutral, it's to think in terms of Abraham Hicks when they talk about um, oh shoot, I just lost that train of thought. When Abraham Hicks talks about like how you get the train going, how you get the momentum going. And once the train's left the station, once the momentum's going, like it's very hard to stop it and
Right.
to like so once you get on a rant, okay, something happened, somebody flipped you off in traffic or whatever, and you're like rah rah rah, and once you're in that state of being, you're on a tear, and chemicals are being released into your body, and you're just like all bent out of shape, and so essentially you're staying in this state of being that is now you're looking for more negative stuff to happen.
Yeah. You're in the flow of negativity,
Yeah, which is not
in
where
the
we want.
flow.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so the idea is to
And it's
move.
hard to put the brakes on and stop that.
Mhm.
Thinking of a train, once
Yep,
a train gets going, it's going to take a long time for it to stop.
yep, yep, and I love that because you think about the weight of it and the momentum and all that.
Mhm.
So the idea is how do you get into that neutral state of being to stop that forward momentum?
Yeah.
And so what is it that Abraham Hicks says? Like I remember there was something about um, you know, that when you go to bed and you start over the next day, then then you're at that flat line. But there's something else that they say to do. And I'm trying to remember at the moment.
Well, I can't remember either, but I'll tell you when you go to bed, and I mean, we're all about practicality, keep it simple, sister. So if you can go to bed and envision the best day ever tomorrow,
Mhm.
then you're going to wake up in that higher vibration and it's easier to get the train going.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay,
If I can, I'll think, if you say the right words, I'll think of what they say, but I can't remember.
well, I know. So I know with Bashar was talking about today, and I know Abraham Hicks talks about this, where you've got to first recognize that you're on this rant, that you're in this space, and then to take a deep breath and to go, okay, um, now both of them talk about what would feel better in the moment. But see, the thing is, when you're in that negative vibrational state, usually, flipping someone back, or ranting at
Yeah.
someone else is
Some physical action that is probably not socially acceptable would make it better.
exactly. So really what you need to do, like you have to feel the emotion. Like if it upset you, if because you've got these chemicals going through your body and stuff like that. So you've got to be aware of the emotion. So recognize, call out the emotion. I'm feeling this, not just roar, but I am feeling this. And once you recognize it, already you've moved into more of the objective state of being
Yeah.
because now you've recognized. And so you're shifting out of the momentum of being pissed,
Yeah.
upset, or whatever it is. Um, excuse me. And then you can start to go, okay, let me just move into a space of taking a deep breath and just like it's just existing for a moment. From the point of just taking a deep breath, not even trying to reason, but just letting it go in that moment, and holding that space of being for, well, I would say Abraham Hicks talks about 17 seconds as a manifestation.
Right.
I'm thinking 10 seconds is good, but 17 seconds, whatever it is. And then to sit there and go, what is my preferred state of being?
Okay, can I interrupt for a second
Yep.
without throwing you off? So I was just listening this morning to our brain tap, which is a whole thing. But the brain tap, it was a program about your vagus nerve
Hmm.
and regulating your vagus nerve, which your vagus nerve is it runs the length of your body,
Hmm.
but basically it helps with your emotions and all those chemicals and everything that you were just talking about. So, in order to reset your vagus nerve, which would be exactly what you're talking about to get to that neutral,
Hmm.
if you breathe in for 5 and you hold it for 6
Yeah.
and you breathe out for 7, And that probably takes 10 seconds or 15, 17 seconds or whatever it is. That's that reset point. And then if you get to the bottom of it, if you get, all the air out and you feel like you're still feeling a little tense, a little hyped up, do it one more time.
Mhm.
That's a really good practical way to do that breathing, because so many of us are not used to stopping to take a breath. And my daughters are a good example. Like, they'll call me all rung up about something, and my first inclination is always to say, okay, let's take a breath. Take a breath. And then they'll start talking again, and I'll be like, okay, with me, breathe in, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let it out. And then as you're letting it out, if you let it out with a little bit of a hum or a little bit of a like a sigh,
Yes.
that is also activating your vagus nerve, which accelerates the whole calming down kind of thing
Oh, I love that.
and going to neutral.
Yeah, thank you for bringing all that in because, and just like what you're talking about, it's like they want to keep going back to the rant, but the more that they
Yes.
keep doing that slow breathing, that focused 5, 6, 7 breathing, then, they can't hold on. Like people, there's a secondary benefit. People want to rage. They want to be a victim and say, I was wronged. And so when you move someone into that state of being, it pisses them off because they really want to be, like I was, they want to be emotionally, what is it? Emotionally justified
Yes.
in experiencing that flash of emotion. But
Well, and any of those things like punching the pillow or screaming out loud or whatever, just to get that
yeah,
emotion out.
we need to do a whole podcast on releasing emotions
Yes. Love
because
it.
there's a lot of things that yeah, a lot of suggestions we can give that would be great for that one.
No, I think that's really good because I'm going back to my daughters. My daughter Maggie drives home at 5 o'clock every day, and she calls me on her way home, and she gets such road rage and is yelling and screaming at everybody as she goes up the road. But I know she has ADHD, and I know she held it together at her office all day long, and I know what she's doing. She's got to get all of that out and then be able to be calm when she gets home. But I get it. I get the rant of it. I'm the recipient. But even more than that, I'm like, she is going to kill somebody. She's going to kill her. Somebody's going to pull out a gun. Oh my God. I'm like, Maggie, just breathe,
Breathe.
stop. One day she's like, I will kill all your kids and I'll pull their intestines out and wrap it around their neck. She doesn't mean any of this,
Yeah,
but like,
she's
it's just crazy. I know.
like, I couldn't even think that visually
Me
to
neither. And then but I started to envision, I'm like, oh, I raised you? Oh, okay.
well, where did that come from? Yeah. Well, okay, so going back to like all of that's just kind of explaining how you get into that neutral state. But there's a whole other aspect to this that we want to bring up. And that's the concept of everything always benefiting you. And this concept I first came across when I was listening to the early recordings of Alan slash Bashar, which Alan is part of that same channeled being, but done at a different time. So there are audio recordings. They're floating around the internet of these, like they're recorded from the 80s. And when I came across these and I heard him start talking about the concept that, and it's not like everything's always working out for me, it's everything is benefiting me, literally. And so the idea of sitting there thinking, okay, no matter what occurs, it's here to create something beneficial in my life. So we talk about contrast. Contrast is neither good nor bad. It's if we came into this lifetime and everything was always, just kind of good, you can't learn or understand who you are when life is just good. That's very vanilla.
Can't have the rainbows without the rain.
Oh, yes.
Rainbows and butterflies. That's what I always think of. These people that live their life with rainbows and butterflies. Everything is rainbows and butterflies. And some people may think that that's because of my persona. That's the way I come across sometimes. but there's got to be, I appreciate the rainbows and butterflies because I realized when the rain and storms were coming through
Yeah.
that something better had to be on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. You had that innate faith in that.
Yes.
I did not a lot of the time.
Well, I
Um,
had to. It was a survival mechanism for me, and
yeah.
it worked.
For me, it was like, this is for life. This is for life. This is going to be this way. And
No.
so, yeah. So yeah, this whole concept of let's see, I'm trying to pick back up where I was with Bashar and Alan. Oh, so when they first started talking about this, or when I first started hearing this, um, it was a fascinating concept to think, okay, what if I wandered around in my world? Oh, I was talking about contrast. Let me say this first. Okay, so the contrast, you could say it's good or bad, that's fine, but we prefer contrast because contrast is it's different than this. Like contrast is
Off.
anything that's off. Yeah,
Yeah.
different, opposite, whatever. So polar differences or whatever. Um, so anyway, when things are contrasty, it causes us, and this goes back to Abraham Hicks, it causes us to see what we don't want. And when we see what we don't want, it helps us to focus on what we do want. So like if everything's just kind of good and fine, we aren't really creative. There's nothing to problem solve. There's nothing to
Right.
get our juices kind of going. And so when you have the contrast, the problem solving comes in, the how could I do this differently? The curiosity is how our minds as humans are just we were created this way. So it
Wired.
takes
Yeah.
that to fire us up to then go, how can I envision this differently? How can I make this work differently? Um, so I want to give an example of this at work, if that's okay.
Oh yeah. No, no, no. I think that's great. I love a practical example. Sullivan's story time is always a practical example.
So
Go
since
for
when I was immersed so deep in this concept that I believed literally everything. I understand the concept. I'm a creator being, that I bring everything to me. And I also understood that everything's always working out for my benefit. So I am creating this reality coming around. So I don't think I've mentioned this before, but I was in a shower on a Monday morning. Everything's great. And over the weekend, I'd gotten messages like these urges to clean my shower, shave my legs. And I was lazy. I was procrastinating. I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. So I'm in the shower Monday morning and it's really soapy in there and I slip and fall. And when I fell, my shin hit the metal bar going across the shower and it split open my skin. It was really gross. And so I was like trying not to pass out. I was trying to keep my, act together. And I'm like telling my husband, trying to wrap a towel around me. And I'm like, grab this dress, this dress, grab this one I could just throw on. And I'm trying to get myself dressed to get to an emergency room because I had taken a look at what happened. It split my, skin. Like I knew I was going to need stitches. I'm
like a
sorry.
gash.
Yeah, too
Yeah.
much. It was not pretty. So, the funny thing, I was like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And I suddenly went, I'm going to that emergency room that's a walk-in clinic that's right around the corner. I'm like, we're going to go to this one right around the corner. I'd never been there before. But here's the other part of being a creator being is every Sunday during this period of time, I was having brunch with my girlfriends, and I would pass by this emergency walk-in clinic, and I would pass by and say, I've never, been there before. Like it's a different hospital, part of a different hospital chain. And I was like, I wonder what the people are like there. It seems like a nice place. If I ever need to, I'm going to go there. And like, I literally would think this every Sunday. And so I thought about it on Sunday, the day before the shower incident happens, slip in the shower. I'm thinking, where am I going to go? And I start laughing. And my husband's looking at me and I'm like, I'm going to that emergency clinic. And right then
I've been looking for an opportunity to go
and
there.
so right there, I'm seeing the benefit. Like, I'm like, even though I've created the situation, which we always create the situation because we're creator beings, we're always attracting it to us. So we're never the victim. So I'm in this state of mind and going, this is how this is benefiting me. I've wanted to go. Here's my reason to go. And so we go, and it's during the time of the big C. And we go, and it's amazing. Like, we get right in. I go in, the guy's looking at it, he goes, "Yeah, this is really kind of serious. I'm gonna have to do a stitch way down underneath, and then we'll do the stitches up above." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh," and he goes, "Have you had a tetanus shot lately?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Okay, well, we got to do a tetanus shot." And I'm thinking it's going to be something horrible. I've always been fearful of them. It was like nothing. And so the whole time I'm laughing, and the guy is like, "You're awfully happy." Like, he's wondering what I'm on, or if it's just
What is wrong with you?
area. Yeah. And I'm just going, this is so funny because I kept saying, if I ever needed to come here, and how nice everybody would be, and that would be a great experience. And I'm telling you, like, you are the nicest doctor, and none of this is hurting, and this is all good. He's just looking at me like, okay. And it was funny because then I realized what those nudges were, because I needed the tetanus shot because I hadn't cleaned my shower. And because of the stuff they had to put on me, I couldn't shave my hairy legs for like a couple of weeks. So, but anyway,
Okay, Sasquatch. So then you were ready to go.
so that's me being like totally like rocking that concept of everything benefits me, and being so
Most people would have looked at that as, oh my God, why did this happen to me? How did this is awful. This is terrible. This is horrible. But that was not the way you saw it at all.
mm-mm. No, and so and it, I tell you, it really helps to become a student of listening to discussions like we're having, and listening to these channels and listening to this stuff, and to immerse yourself in it and to practice it, because it's not natural for us to see things as to see contrasty situations as
As a beneficial thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So then one of the other things he was talking about was how, and this goes along with also with Abraham Hicks, is how everything's a mirror held up to us so that we can experience that which we don't want, and we can feel it, we can see it, and we go, yeah, I'm going to go this direction instead. And he's like, instead of going, I don't like this person, I don't like this experience, he's all about shifting it to saying, how is this benefiting me? Because you're connected to your higher self. You are this higher minded being that knows all. So, a higher minded being isn't just sitting there going, I'm going to toy with you. I'm going to just screw with your life. That's not like that's the old
I
gods.
would have played Mean Girl today.
Yeah. Yeah. And really
I
mess
would
with
play
you.
Hospital. I would have
Well, and so,
not like that.
yeah, no. So instead, it's, your higher self has devised this situation so that you can experience, and from that experience, gain a greater understanding of the capacity of the capacity of what humans are capable of, what your soul, like, it's the growth of your soul to experience
Yeah.
these things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's go
And
ahead.
the souls around you
Mhm. So
also need that
we're all
experience.
co-creating this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just the one person.
Interesting.
Yeah, so when you really sit there and embrace it and go, "Okay, so how is this
That was the ultimate flip side.
Yeah, well, yes, that was.
Really.
Yeah, that experience totally, but there's I mean, like, we can sit there and think constantly, "Well, this benefited me," so the reason why we wanted to talk about this was this is going to air before Thanksgiving. And we know that Thanksgiving, families come together, and it's like everyone is looking for someone to piss them off, to upset them. They're looking for okay, let me back up to this. So every situation, this is such an interesting concept. Every situation is neutral. It literally, what a situation means to me is something different than what it would mean to you. And it's based off of our perceptions, off of our current state of being. So, like, the person who cuts you off, if you're in a Zen state of mind, you just kind of go, wow, that person must really need to get somewhere. But if you're someone who has always felt threatened and grew up feeling, negative about things and had seen your parents' behavior as aggressive towards other drivers, and you're in just one of those moments, you're going to be outraged. Look what they did to me. So the idea is every situation is neutral and you get to assign the meaning. So we're talking about two concepts here that work together. The one of everything's benefiting me, and then the fact that everything's neutral. If every situation's neutral, you get to decide if it's benefiting you. Do you see what I'm saying? Is
Well,
that
yeah, and it's the whole thing with the flip side. Like you can look at it as a victim, or you can look at it as a beneficial something.
Mhm. Well, it's easier when it's already past to, quarter, what is it?
Yeah, and look back and see what
Quarterback.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're
but you're talking about in the moment.
moment, yeah, to
Yeah.
sit there and just go, okay, what is the experience I'm now going to have? Like I broke down, I had my second tire blow when I had my camper, and my son and I we were just getting ready to leave Canada and go into back into the United States. And it's a Sunday, and I'm like, in the United States, trying to get someone to come and help take care of your tire on a Sunday,
Yeah.
you're kind of going, oh God.
Difficult.
And I was like, but I'm in the state of being of, wonder why this happened here. This will be interesting. Literally in that frame of mind. And so I have to make a few phone calls, and finally they send someone out. Well, this person tells me, yeah, I came from my family. I can't even do her accent. But it was very, Canadian, oh, so sorry, it took so long, whatever. And she's like, yeah, I came from my family's, picnic gathering, but I'm so glad to meet you and be here to help you. And I'm kind of going, okay.
Oh,
And she was so nice. Well, another guy heard the call go out. So he shows up too. And they're talking, they're having a great time. He's helping
oh
her.
my gosh, that's
And
fantastic.
they're the nicest people ever. And like, it just restored my faith in humanity. It like everything that I've heard about Canadians being so helpful and nice, was
Uh-huh.
reaffirmed, and so like the whole situation ends up being this incredibly cool experience.
Because you created that, because you were open to, let's see how this goes.
Mhm.
Well, going back to the Thanksgiving thing, so many of us replay our childhood. Like we get together for the turkey dinner, and
Yep.
my brother used to always pick on me, and now he's picking on me, and I hated it when he picked on me, and all of it is just this happened, and then last year it happened again, and then Uncle Bob said
This time it's
got drunk, and he said this about the politics and whatever. Okay, I completely lost my train of thought.
well, are you
um,
talking about how you always go back and
Okay. So I was going to tell a story about someone that was when Samantha and I became buddies in this program that we did. One of the girls there was talking about how her brother-in-law, they never she hated visiting the in-laws because the brother-in-law was mean and he was nasty, and he, it just was a horrible experience, blah blah blah. But she made the decision before they got to the family reunion or to wherever it was they were going,
Mhm.
that this time was going to be different. And it absolutely was, because she created that. Her perception of everything was not a you're getting on my nerves perception. It was a interesting. Okay. And then he started acting differently than he had in the past because she was acting differently than she had in the past. So
Mhm.
we all have the power at Thanksgiving dinner to create a Norman Rockwell dinner, if that's what you want, or, whatever, at least a pleasant, at least you're seeing it as pleasant. Your
Yeah.
perception of it, maybe somebody else's might still be bad, but you're expecting to see kindness and goodness and light and whatever it is you want out of that
Mhm.
situation.
Yep. And your perception is the only perception that matters going into it. You don't need to make it nice for everyone else. This is the hardest thing I have to explain to clients is that you're not responsible for making everything pleasant for everyone else. Like throw that notion out the window with Thanksgiving. If you do it from your perception of how you would like it to be, how you see it, evolving, and then release, it's always important to release from the outcome. Otherwise, you're trying to dictate. And if it doesn't match what you want, then you get upset.
Right.
But you can't make other people release from their perception that, oh my God, I've got to drink because this is going to be horrible and I need to numb myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
you can't control all of that. And once you release from it and just go, well, this is going to be interesting. I am going to look at everything that occurs from wow, this will be interesting. How does it benefit me? How interesting will this be? It's a very selfish point of view, but all you have is that point of view. Like, you
Well,
control
and the thing
the
is, we've been taught not that we can't be selfish as women, especially. You have to be selfless. You have to make sure everybody else has a good time. You have to make sure, that everything looks just like it did when your mom did Thanksgiving or your grandmom did Thanksgiving. No, I'm going to do Thanksgiving the way I'm going to do Thanksgiving. I'm going to have a good time. And if y'all want to join in, come on.
Yep. Well, and see
But
the
if you
thing,
don't,
yeah, yeah,
sorry, folks.
can't be held responsible.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, like, when you sit there and stress yourself out by trying to jump into someone else's shoes and just go, well, how are they going to see this? How will they perceive it?
But you don't know. We don't
Yeah,
know.
you can't be in that perception. Like, you didn't wake up in their body that day and perceive, well, crap, I got to go visit the relatives. I'd rather be watching the football game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to release to
Well,
all.
and if you go back to what I couldn't understand, that everybody had their own perception and that my life was just my perception of my life.
Mhm.
But if you go to Thanksgiving and you talk to your brother or your sister or your mom or your cousin, whoever, and both of you recollect an incident, a gathering, whatever, think of something. Your story is not going to be the same as that other person's story because your perception of that was different than their perception of that.
Mhm.
It's so interesting. So there's your evidence. There's your facts. I'm always looking for the evidence, but you know what I mean? Like it's really so interesting. And if Samantha and I went on a cruise together, if we told a story about a dinner, I liked the steak and she liked the salmon. And she knew that the salmon was good. They have great seafood on this ship and blah, blah, blah. And I would never talk about that because I don't like salmon.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
even the story in your brain and the story that you tell is always your perception. So you have to remember that about other people too.
Yep.
And there's no need to argue. Remember, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
That will do you a lot of good at the Thanksgiving gathering and the Christmas gathering.
Mhm.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So to
But
move.
remember, they could be wrong. And you're definitely right in your head, but their perception, they're not wrong, and shut it down.
Well, because I imagine, oh my God, can you, like, even like just thinking of all the fodder right now for divisive conversations over Thanksgiving, like, it would make me cringe, except that I've already released and I don't care. It's not, I keep
Right,
telling
exactly.
myself,
And it's interesting to watch it when you don't care.
oh
It's
yeah,
interesting to watch the way people react to each other and the conversation, and everything, as an outside observer, because you don't really care what they're talking about.
okay, so I'm going to offer a little bit of a tip here, that came through in one of my readings, and now I just keep telling all of my clients, it's get yourself into the space, the state of mind. You've got to work on this before you go to these events. Is
Yeah.
that things that are happening in the world? If you don't have a dog in the fight, if you don't have a dog in the fight, like, it's not affecting you. It's something that's coming. You wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't coming across the news. You know what? Let it go. It's none of your damn business. It literally is none of your business, and you
And
talk
there's
about it,
nothing you can do
pontificate.
about it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
can't have any influence. Now, when the election comes up and you want to battle that stuff out, your vote might make a difference. But at the Thanksgiving dinner table, what you think about what the president said or didn't say, or sent or didn't send, or whatever,
Yep.
you have no control over that.
Yeah.
None.
So who cares? Why ruin that time by trying to get
Right.
people to believe and see things the way, because even if they believed in the same concepts or the same, like, they've also voted for the president, they still don't perceive things the same way you do. So you're
because they
still
don't
not
have
gonna
the same experiences that you have. They don't have the same interactions that you've had with other people. And yes, exactly.
So
So
yes, veer away from that stuff,
yes.
and just talk about what is germane to your life. What have you been doing with your life? What interests you? What's going on?
Ask questions and understand what's interesting to them too, because people like to talk about themselves. Just remember that.
Mhm.
So did we get to the other end of contrast, neutral?
Um,
Did we come full circle?
I think we've come full circle enough. The thing is, this is like one of those topics that we could jump into on a weekly basis and talk and we touch on all of this stuff,
Well,
throughout.
and if you've been watching us all along, you'll notice we're bringing things back up, back up, back up.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why we would love it if you got on the Facebook group and, started asking some questions, tell us some stories, things that, revelations that you've had, things that, that you've heard of or done that we don't know anything about that we can share with each other. That would be really
Further
cool.
the discussion.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
we haven't really, I mean, I'm guilty. I've had so much going on. I haven't been in there even trying to start any discussions, but that's my plan moving on. And if we can cheer each other on before Thanksgiving, we'll all go in there feeling good and we'll come out feeling good.
Yeah, and because that is, we talk about it. It's the time to be grateful, thankful, and
And that's
yet,
what it's all about.
yeah, and yet we say that, but we don't really immerse ourselves. We don't really state that with people, because we get hung up with all of this other stuff. So, and it's also to keep in mind that if, excuse me, shit hits the fan, to sit there and just go, you know, wow, isn't this interesting? What, this is going to be, like, just don't jump into it. Sit back and just go, well, this is going to be interesting. How is this situation benefiting me? What is it that I will derive from this? Because whatever occurs, it might be that there's information that, from this explosive thing that occurs that
Yeah.
helps shift your mind a little bit, helps you, or maybe it helps you firmly close the door and feel like, I don't need to spend time with that person. Maybe it's a permission slip, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
who knows what it could be, but to be open to the contrast happening. Don't look for it. Be open to it. And when it does happen, let it be its thing, but you stay in your good high vibe state of being by staying neutral to it and gleaning what you can from it. That is, like it's literally what it is. Let me just say this. It's taking something that's negative. You're learning how to neutralize the negativity is what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
And so you're taking that negativity and turning around and making it a positive for yourself. So it's not like you're
Well,
just
and
doing
the
waves that
question
go
in your
la la la. Yeah.
yeah, the question in your mind is, what can I take away from this?
Mhm.
What can I learn from this?
And it's not like never to go to family dinners again.
No, no, no. Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's what you decide you want to do, okay. But that's probably not the healthiest for you or your family.
Yeah. But there's different concepts. I mean, you got all these people intermingling, concepts come up, revelations. Um, it's a microcosm of you going, well, I like this, I don't like that. How do I want to treat people? How do I want to be? And you don't have to be that thoughtful about it the whole time. It's
Right.
realize that you may want to dissect it afterwards.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to sweary affirmations
Okay.
and then our weekly wanderlust. I'm excited about the sweary affirmations.
I always like our sweary affirmations.
I love a sweary affirmation.
Okay. So this is, I always
My
show
little
this,
bag
the
of
sweary
sweary
affirmations
affirmations.
bag. If you go to the blog that corresponds to this particular podcast, we have it listed in there, where you can go and purchase it and support the podcast. So it's always lovely. So it's a great Christmas idea, these sweary
Yes.
affirmations. They're good little stocking stuffers. Okay, tell me when to stop.
Okay, I'm making notes over here if you see me looking down because I'm going to order some because I don't have my own set. So I need to get them. Stop.
Okay. This one is I trust in myself because I am a total badass. Ooh.
I am a badass. I trust in myself because I'm a total badass. There's a book that's called You Are a Badass.
So you want to practice this stuff. Go in with that attitude of, I'm a total badass. Like I've got this stuff down. I am a creator being. I am in control of, well, I don't want to say I'm in control. See, I catch myself because it's not that you need to be in control of your emotions. It's being,
Right.
it's having an understanding, a relationship, a positive relationship with your emotional state of being, your
Yes.
perception, your
And
reality.
thinking about yourself as a badass helps you be that outside observer person. I'm a badass. I mean, I'm not better than you, but I'm better than you. You're not wrong, but you're wrong. Whatever, because it's your perception.
Uh-huh.
All right. So our weekly Wanderlust usually is a way to, it's a homework assignment if you choose to do homework. Some people are against homework. I'm a teacher, so I can't be against homework. I think it's wonderful
And I
to
like to
be able
call
to
it
practice. The more
integration.
practice, the better. But there is a new thing out, not a new thing, but there have been studies shown that homework is not beneficial for kids. So there are teachers that are not assigning homework now. Did you know that? It's interesting.
That's,
And I think that
who did this
part,
study?
but I don't know. But part of it is the way society is, where there are a lot of kids that don't have support to do homework at home. So if you give homework that's actually just practicing something they really understand and they know how to do, and it all goes back to the new math, and then the parents couldn't help with the math because the math is all different than the math that they knew how to do and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, you can do homework, but if you follow the study, don't do the homework. This is your mission. It's not your homework. And if you choose to accept this mission or this homework assignment, this is what we want you to do.
Okay. All right. So, and this, again, this will be in the corresponding blog. So you guys can go there and get the details. I had to write this down because I want to make sure I have this right. So, for the next week, as you're listening to this, leading up to Thanksgiving, it's to say to yourself, I am feeling blank. Okay, whatever. And we're talking about, you can use it positively and negatively. I am feeling wonderful. I am feeling bad, whatever it is.
I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. I'm feel any of those emotion words.
Stressed, whatever.
Yes.
Hang on.
Elated and fabulous, whatever.
Yes. So, whatever these emotions are that you're feeling, but the idea is you're obviously doing this because of negative emotions coming up. So,
Yeah.
So it'd be like, I am feeling stressed. And then you say, because I choose to believe X, Y, or Z. So, like, I feel stressed because I choose to believe that people are not going to like my food. Okay. And like, it's to recognize when you say this that it's on you, it's your perception, we talked about fear, false evidence appearing real. You're making this up. This is all, you like you're doing. Nobody has said, oh, I don't like this. And if they don't like it, well, maybe
They won't eat it, or they won't do it, or they won't whatever, and that's okay.
yeah, it's totally okay. It's not your job to please everyone. It's for you to follow your highest excitement. So it's the idea is when you say this, you realize the ridiculousness of it. You realize
Yeah.
the falseness of it. Like you can feel it in your body that it's just such a false statement. And so what it does is it helps minimize these contrasting negative feelings, bringing them more into a neutral state. So dissipate, flattens that kind of. So like if you say, I'm feeling hectic, I'm feeling hectic, and you could say, I because I choose to believe I must feel hectic.
Or because I choose to believe everything has to be done right now.
Uh-huh. And so when you say that, you realize, okay, that's me putting that on myself.
Right. Is that really true? No,
Yeah.
that's not really true.
It
It's a
kind of
lie.
cuts that emotional state of frenzy or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
one thing that I heard that I really like this is when you say, like, I'm feeling upset about this situation because I choose to believe it serves me. Okay. Now, when you say that, because I choose to believe it serves me, it's interesting because what you're doing is you're looking at the secondary benefit. Because if you choose to sit there and go, I'm feeling, what did I say? Upset?
Upset.
Upset. Because I choose to believe it serves me. It means you're sitting in a corner. The secondary benefit of being upset is that everybody's going to come up to you and go, "Oh, what's
Aw,
wrong?
what's wrong? Are you okay?
Yeah." And so, like, it's not
Come
just
on, cheer up.
so it's not just, yeah, have another piece of pie. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not just that you're upset about the situation. You're like recognizing that what's the secondary benefit? What are you deriving from this? Oh, you're getting attention now. And
Yeah.
you catch yourself in the moment. So it's almost like, so if you try these, like, say, literally go, I am feeling blank because I choose to believe, and then say, like, because I choose to believe, I need to feel this way, or I choose to believe I must feel this way, or I choose, whatever it is. But there's going to be several statements to try on afterwards to feel it out, because you might not know which of those statements are the best one.
Yeah.
So if you say, because it serves me, you may not have a secondary gain you're trying to get from it. But if you do, how beautiful it is that you become aware of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I want to see what I wrote some notes down. Try saying I feel, oh, okay. What's interesting, that I noticed, like, if you just sit there and say, I feel upset. Okay, that leaves the emotions hanging out there. And the
Uh-huh.
way that Bashar was talking about it is that it's a closed circuitry. You need to close that loop or whatever. So when you say because of this, when you say because I choose, when you own it, that you're choosing to feel negative in a situation and you state what that is, it closes the circuit and it puts it to rest. You've identified it, you've identified your emotion, you've identified why you're doing it. So it's a question answer and it's done.
Well,
It's
and
like
it's funny in the Bashar, and I'm sure we'll link this, the YouTube that you sent me. He talks about doing it as a practice, like we're practicing it this for the weekly Wanderlust, but it trains your brain. It changes the circuitry in your brain when you start practicing doing this.
Yep.
I thought was really interesting.
Yep. Well, yeah, because he was saying, like, it's all the programming from the time you were little and how that's your perception of reality. So when you're doing this, yeah, it affects the neurological pathways, and it
Yeah.
literally is reprogramming your brain. It's like neuro linguistic programming,
Yes.
So you're literally changing the way that you perceive the world. So the more that you practice this on a regular basis, it's like actually huge.
Well, and we mentioned at the very beginning Brain Tap and the Brain Tap headphones. Most of the programs that go with that, and if you're interested, either one of us can send you some information or whatever, but that's all about retraining that neural linguistic programming. It's all about retraining your perception of things and those neural pathways in your brain to make your body react in a way that's not fight or flight,
Mhm.
and that's healthier and more chill, more zen, more, better for your psyche as well as your physical well-being.
Yes. Oh my God, that was so beautiful.
Body. Yes.
That.
So we'll put the link to that too.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
You
So
can
that
even try that out. It's kind of fun.
so you know what? I'm wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. And if you're watching this when it's not Thanksgiving, you can remember all these tips for Christmas or your next Thanksgiving or Hanukkah or
Next get
whatever's
together.
happening, whenever you're with the
Or
people that might push your buttons.
yes.
All
So wishing you
right.
all the best, right?
Yes. All right. Well, we will see you next time. Bye.